Hi, I'm Deb. I became homeless because I was hospitalized, lost my job in my apartment, and was released to the street with nowhere to live and a list of places to call. I was really fortunate because the Compass Center happened to have an opening after I'd only been on the street for a night. I've had a lot of stereotypes shattered here, like Sweet Pea. Okay, she's a thug, but when you get to talking to her, she speaks French and Latin. She was an honor student. She and I were roommates when we first got here, and we hated each other's guts. Now we're friends. She's been hurt a lot. She's been disappointed a lot, and she wants somebody to make it all better. But I think that's what we all really want. And I finally resigned myself to the fact that it's just not going to happen. When I was little, before my dad remarried, he used to tell me that I was smart enough to be anything I wanted to be, even though I was a girl. I could be anything I wanted to be when I grew up. He really gave me that feeling, and years of abuse just eroded that feeling and left me feeling like I was just going to drift through life waiting to see what happens. In some ways, I feel like, how much lower can I get? Am I going to be sleeping in doorways? Being homeless is to me embarrassing and a mark of failure. If I'd done it right, if I'd been a better person, then I wouldn't be here. There's just so much stuff that is painful, and sometimes I think it's never going to stop hurting. I was raped twice. My house was broken into 4 times. When I was living in Chicago, I was in an apartment. I moved part of my stuff, and then I went to the hospital again and wasn't able to move the rest of it right away. And the landlord said he would hold it for me, but I was never able to get hold of him again. And so I think I turned it off. And so I basically just lost it all. The things that I've lost, they're in my past and they haunt me, but I just don't think about them. If I thought about them, I would cry and never stop. I guess that's one of the things about being homeless, is you worry a lot about losing things. And so I've gotten to a point where I just don't get very attached, because if I do, I can't deal with it. Last night I was at Safeway. I was walking past the produce department and I saw mushrooms, bulk white mushrooms. And I wanted to cry because I could remember that period of my life. I was living in my little studio apartment with my cat, and there were cat toys in all the doorways. I bought cookware and I bought kitchen things and I bought little electrical appliances, and I would go out shopping and buy mushrooms and buy things and make my own dinners. And every payday, I would stop at Woolworths or the pet store on the way home and buy cat toys. And I would come home from work and relax. And for some reason, seeing mushrooms last night made me think of that. I don't think I'm your typical homeless person, but I don't know what a typical homeless person is anymore. I mean, it's not at all what I thought. I still think that the government needs to be doing more. There should be places where people who are homeless, who have been damaged, can stay until they pick up the pieces and get treatment and get what they need and get respite. Like wildlife sanctuaries, where you take birds with the broken wings and take care of them for 5 or 6 months and let them go. Especially if you've been homeless for a long time, you're out of the mainstream and you don't know how to live in it. This would be a place where you could learn how to live, what to do, learn how to get a job. You could learn social skills. You would learn how to love yourself. If you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would have said this will never happen to me. This is not my life. It's not supposed to be like this. You go from being a capable adult in charge of your own life to being almost completely dependent on the mercy of other people. And a lot of the time, your fate is not decided on merit. It's being in the right place at the right time. But I've always been lucky that way, falling on my feet. Things are never as bad as they could be. Whenever I feel like I'm desperate, something happens. Sometimes it makes me think maybe there is a God. But if there's a God, why the hell does he put me through all of this? Your religious people would say, well, you're tempered by fire. I didn't ask to be tempered, thank you. I would have been quite happy being weak. But I'm strong, one of the strongest people I know.
Hi, my name is Jessie. There is trauma in homelessness because you have no one. Your family is not with you. Your mom is not with you. Your sister is not with you. Nobody's with you. It's just yourself. I wish there was a school for homelessness. Homelessness 101. You learn when you're homeless. The problem with homelessness in general is that society looks at the homeless as garbage. That's how I felt when I was homeless at times. I was nothing, because we're invisible to their eyes. Who am I? Who I am is not homeless. I'm a human being named Jessie. That's who I am. Some people are scared. They think homeless people are dangerous. They think homeless people have no morals, that people that are homeless have no brains, that homeless people have no heart. I can see why they say that. It's because their own self is empty. They have no heart. It's society's problem. On TV, you see those commercials about, look at this person who is famished. They're skinny with bones, but yet, why don't we address our own issue over here? Everybody thinks it's about alcoholic and drug addicts. That's not the case. It's not going to be 10 years to end homelessness. It's going to be longer than that. I think that the numbers are going to quadruple. But that's just how the government is. It's that pretend. It hurts me inside. It just makes me sad to see these people. And at the same time say, aren't you grateful that you have a home? Aren't you grateful that you have a bed to sleep tonight? Are you grateful that you're not going to be murdered tonight? Are you grateful that you're not going to commit suicide tonight? The governor and the mayor should walk in our shoes for a week. I'm 100% sure that your perspective will change. You'll see really how it is, not the stigma that society puts on the homeless community. The best place to learn the golden rules is when you're homeless. You want to learn the real truth about it? Be homeless for a week, then you'll find out. I open my door to those who are homeless. I open my door, and I used to be homeless. Sometimes I let them sleep in my apartment. I don't want them to get murdered. How many murders have been happening? How many times have we stood for men and women that are homeless? I don't know what it's going to take anymore for all this to end. Friends of mine died. What can you do? There wasn't any place for us to deal with it. When it happens, where do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? Where do you deal with death? The homeless place of remembrance garden. We want to go somewhere where we can grieve for these people. I am presently attending North Seattle Community College in my second year to become, hopefully, an instructor like Desiree, but teach English, and I love English and teach psychology.
I started a writing group for homeless and low-income adults back in 1995, and for a couple of years, I heard, even from homeless people themselves, homeless people don't need to be writing poetry. Homeless people need to be finding a job. But now almost every homeless service or shelter that you find has a writing workshop, because they've noticed what we've noticed, that sharing your story with others is part of putting your life together, and it's part of building a community together. When the first time I walked into the Wheel office, everybody was spread across the floor putting together the first poetry book, yearly poetry book of Wheel. And we published it for many years after that, and finally Wit Press came to us and said they wanted to put it together in a book. Now we're going to give you some readings from that book.
And then on one perfectly ordinary day, we walked out of the house which had been as solid beneath our feet as stone, and as silent. We never came back. We learned that on one perfectly ordinary day, life can change forever. And the second poem is by K. Maya Rose, and it's called I Am Going to Talk, and I just like this. I am going to leave this area someday. I am going to travel. I am not going to stay put. I am going to be on the move. I'm already preparing to go, clearing out my headspace, moving things around so that I can travel life. And I am going to talk. I am going to talk about what happened to me. Talk and talk and talk. Sorry. And all of those who need this talk find a home in me. I'm not going to stay put. I am not going to hold still. I am not going to be good. I am not going to be silent. I am going to travel and tell everyone what's inside of me until it's inside of you too.
I didn't write this poem, but a friend of ours that had passed away, once she got her apartment, she had passed away. And she's like this iconic person in our community. And the title of the poem is Fallen Angels. Sad, I have again found my rhythm behind these crumbling walls that stretch so high above my life. Within the games of spades and the plastic cups of coffee and the sisters who cradle the streets as easily as they welcome me. In this day, at this moment, I'm no different than any other. My beginnings and endings blended into red felon's cloth, and the metallic glimmer of handcuffs. But at night, this night, I dream of God's strength, and I read the words embedded into these walls. By those whose deaths were foretold by the judges and the jailers and the system that barely knew them. I have knelt in the silence of the indifferent, no one believing that anything of value has left inside of me. I've been gutted and laid open like a fish by those whose eyes have refused to meet my own because in all of the days and months and years of my life's discretion, I had fallen so far and so fast and so hard it was believed I could not survive, and thus, deemed worthless, it was thought best simply to cut the loss of me and to turn away. I don't deny my past, but neither have I perished. I may scream, I may be silent, I may simply set my sight upon the further star above the darkest sea, but as I swim, I will gather my dreams, and upon them I will build an island. I am imperfect, and I am alone, and in the sand of sleepless nights and the winter dreams, outside of this mortar, beyond the alleys of my despair, I walk with eyes held high. I poise to find those who, like me, were given up for dead or declared missing in action. They, too, have unfinished dreams amid the shadows of fallen angels, lost long before these walls were made before me.
Nikki Giovanni, and the title of this poem is Choices. If I can't do what I want to do, then my job is to not do what I don't want to do. It's not the same thing, but it's the best I can do. If I can't have what I want, then my job is to want what I've got and be satisfied that at least there is something more to want. Since I can't go where I need to go, then I must go where the signs point, though always understanding parallel movement isn't lateral. When I can't express what I really feel, I practice feeling what I can express. And none of it is equal, I know. But that's why mankind, alone among the animals, learn to cry. This poem is written by me. It's titled My Life. My life ain't what it should be, Lord, but it's better than what it was. My life ain't what I want it to be, but Lord, it's sure better than no life. My life may not be happy all the time, but thank God it ain't always sad. My life may not be full of sunshine, but it's not always dark. Oh, I say my life might not be all that it should be, but my God, it's my life, and I'm living it. I'm going to live it. Yes, I'm going to live it my way, with all the joy and hope I can muster, with all the laughter and smiles I can give. Yes, my life might not be all I want it to be, but it's my life.
And now, from the book again, I'm going to read a couple of my poems. The first one was written about a special vigil we did in Freeway Park when a woman had been stabbed to death, and a homeless woman had been stabbed to death in the restroom there. Freeway Park, February 13th, 2002. A woman who could not speak was silenced here. Doors that refused to give a reason lock shut on echoes. Our black clothes whisper under the breath of sun, while candles prey on the sand and the sage smoke dances. The sun burns softly, little leaves weep down. We are the only shout, a silent shout, a rage of prayer into tomorrow. And now I'm going to pass this back to Jessie to share a poem from a longtime friend of ours, Marion Sue Fisher.
Has anyone seen Mary Sue Fisher? She's in Portland, but I really want to see her. So if anyone sees her, can you guys let us know? And so we can contact her. Anyway, the title is Healing. We carry our history with us, in our minds, in our muscles, in our blood, in our very bones. It colors the way we see and feel, the way we react and interact, our very lives. There's relief. There can be release. There can be healing. I believe, and only you know, the way for you.
And now I have a poem called Resurrection that I wrote on Easter Sunday, April 11th in 2004, when a friend of ours, Liv Smith, came to do a baking workshop for us. And I dedicated it to Liv Smith, who always rises. He proved it. The spirit always rises from fear and hatred, power and war, greed and envy, all denial. The spirit always rises. From history's birth on crude clay tablets to its end in some far star, the spirit always rises. From ignorance and terror, from narrowness and pain, from starvation and rejection, the spirit always rises. Give all your strength to what you hope for. Do not bend your knee to death. Do not bend your heart to power. Do not bend your mind to pain. Evil never lasts forever. The spirit always rises. Back to Jessie and Cynthia Osmond.
This is our last poem, and then we'll start our Q&A. For today, I am thankful to be amongst the only people with whom I have ever fitted in. I'm not talking about preachers, police, or physics teachers. I'm referring to women who are refugees of violence. I'm talking about mothers who have been abandoned by their children. I'm talking about children abandoned to drugs. I'm talking about schizophrenic poets and disaffected dreamers and artists who paint between the lines of azure skies and fifths of rye. I'm talking about lying with a fever and a broken couch, feeling as if you were part of no one, and having a total stranger approach with a cup of tea and a stolen blanket, and covering you with kindness you so seldom offer yourself. I'm talking about holding a stranger as she cries, not walking past a ragged hand. I'm talking about buying a cigarette for someone when you do not smoke, or giving your coat or your last $5 to a runaway who looks into your eyes and swears she's 18, with someplace to go, someone to meet, somewhere to live other than the streets. I'm talking about caring when no one else does, when there's nothing much to gain, When caring breaks all the rules, it is usually caring at its best. Today I'm thankful that for a moment I'm free of the cold and rain that falls with abandon upon the city, upon the homeless, upon my soul. Let the winter come, we will fire the snow with kindness. Let the darkness fall, we will ferry the way with wind-blown candles. Let the lightning strike, we will capture its light for fallen dreams. Let no one be forgotten, because she is old, or whether a dollar, or an absent family or friends. I'm talking about God and the power of love and the comfort of strangers. When your world seems like it's falling apart, it is the odd leap of faith, the one who risks her heart, who breaks the rules, who reaches out. In the contest of life, it is the one who gives who truly wins. At this time, we're going to do a Q&A. I know that you guys have a lot of questions, and maybe we can answer them. Hopefully, you guys are ready? Okay.
Bring it on.
So, anybody have any questions? Well, okay, let me ask you ladies a question. How did you survive homelessness? So I'm going to start with Deb and work my way here, okay? How did you survive homelessness?
I was really lucky. I was in the right place at the right time, and the Compass Center saved my life. And during the whole thing, all I did was say, what's next? And just do the next thing. And just keep doing it. And if it weren't for my incredible friends and the Compass Center, which is the most amazing thing in the world, I wouldn't be here. So that's how I did it.
Well, one of the things that got me through homelessness was writing. And I remember one Christmas, a whole bunch of us at the Street Life Art Gallery just standing there doing art, because that get us through that really, really lonely time.
Let's go with the lady. I would have to say that my faith in, after I finally got away from my biological mother, there was a family that took me in, and they took me in off the streets without knowing me, without knowing who I was. The lady that took me in is my mother today. They never changed or veered for me. I was always welcome and a part of their family. And with my faith in them and meeting wonderful people along the way, and my determination that knowing that this was only temporarily, that God had something better for me, and I had something better for myself. Thank you.
How I survived it was that I didn't want to die. And I know now that if I end up on the streets again, I will die.
By request, I'm going to do a poem that sometimes I call Mother Escapes, and other times I call With Feathers. Because many years ago, my mother was locked up in St. Francis Cabrini Hospital because we didn't know what else to do back then. But Mother knew lots better things to do than to be locked up in a little room. She tore her down pillow open with her teeth, blew handfuls of soft white feathers under the door, and yelled, "Fire! Fire!" An orderly actually came and threw the door open. Faster than a naked toddler, Mother skimmed under his arm, raced down the hallway, blasted through the front doors, and ran down the sidewalk. 92 pounds in a flapping hospital gown, long, wiry black hair with feathers, yelling, "Fire! Fire!" Mother told me that story herself. I was never so proud of her. And to this day, I stand a little taller when I have feathers in my hair.